YouTube founding community, Temptations fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we are here today to talk about one of my favorite Temptations albums, CloudNine, released in 1969. This was the first album with Dennis Edwards as this sort of new lead vocalist, but definitely new lead member of the group. As a Temptations album, he had done the live album already, he had done the one with the Supremes, but as a just Temptations album, this was the one. This was also the record where things were starting to change. I mean, Norman Whitfield had been producing them for a couple years at this point. And Otis was really keen on what was happening musically. He was a big fan of Sly and the Family Stone. And he was kind of talking to the producers one day, saying, like, I think if we change up our sound a little bit to kind of, be reminiscent of what they're doing with a multi-group, multi-vocal thing, we could be successful and stay current and kind of change our sound and move with the times a little bit, not be relegated to our past work. And that could have been a number of reasons why. It could have been, David Ruffin had just been fired from the group. Maybe they were looking for a fresh start. Maybe they were looking for something to, keep up with what was going on and not just rely on their old hits, but blend in with what was happening now. Because you got to remember the '60s and these days too, but especially back then, music changed a lot. If you look at music from 1961 and compared to 1969, it's like two different planets. It's unbelievable. And I think they wanted to branch out and do something kind of a little funky, a little bit different. And that's what happened. All of a sudden, they became this group vocal again, where everybody was a lead member. A few more so than others. Otis didn't get too many lead vocals. He would, here and there. But you get a lot of shared vocals. Whereas especially on Wish It Would Rain, it was mostly a David Ruffin album as lead vocalist. And to the point where at one point, when they were renaming all the groups at Motown, it became Diana Ross and the Supremes, Martha and the Vandellas, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. He wanted to be David Ruffin and the Temptations, and the other guys were like, nope, we're a group, we're Temptations, that's it. And Dennis Edwards fit with the group so well. He's one of my favorite vocalists of all time. He was with the group on and off for a long time, well into the late 80s, before he was finally kind of done with the group. But CloudNine is an album that is fascinating because it's basically half moving forward into what would become psychedelic soul, and the other half kind of not leaning on the past, but kind of taking the best elements of their R&B and soul flavor and kind of giving it a little bit of an update with different guys singing it, where it wouldn't be just one vocalist with the background group. So that change definitely helps them blend well with the modern environment, the current times of 1969. So, side one is basically the psychedelic side, and side two is basically like keeping up with that sort of Motown sound, if you will, that had been their flavor for so many years. But the song CloudNine, I mean, what a track. I mean, what a departure, what a gigantic momentum to launch themselves into the stratosphere of what they would become next, and really set them apart from other vocal groups big time. The Temptations definitely kind of nailed down that psychedelic soul thing and made it their own, and they were just a knockout group at it. But the track CloudNine, I mean, when that drum kicks in, that electric guitar comes in, the bass, the shuffle, the harmonies, you're in for a whole new world of Temptations. I mean, compared to just 18 months earlier with I Wish It Would Rain, or I Could Never Love Another After Losing You, or then, I Can Tell I'm Losing You, or all these other songs, like, it's unbelievable, the kind of growth, night and day difference. Each member of this group takes a turn vocally on this one, and it's just a knockout. I mean, Dennis comes in and it sounds like he's always been there. And he had known the guys. He was a member of the Contours, who their big song was Do You Love Me? But when he was a member, they weren't really having big hits. But, when he joined the Temptations, he just blended right in. He was perfect with them. But this song is funky, it rocks, it's got a shuffle to it, it just takes you on a journey. And I love hearing the distinct voices of all these guys. Paul Williams, hands down, was one of the best vocalists in this group. I mean, his voice, he had that little bit of a raspy thing going on, but the emotion that he put behind it was unbelievable. And then you get Eddie doing the high parts, Dennis just ripping through, Melvin doing the low parts, and Otis jumps in here and there with his really smooth, silky vocal mid-range there. And that blend would carry them for the next 5 or 6 years worth of like this kind of stuff, the cinematic soul era, Having their vocals interchanged, I think, is what made them so much more interesting. They were always interesting, but it just brought a whole new element to what they can do to show off that they were all talented. They weren't just one guy and a bunch of background vocalists. They were all lead vocalists that they can blend their voices together and make this magic happen. And that's what CloudNine does. I mean, it takes you on this whole other journey. I heard it through the grapevine. You know, everyone was doing a version of this one. The cymbal and drum lead before the groove kicks in is fantastic. The shared vocals, again, are a knockout. Melvin on this is clearly the vocal highlight for me on this track. I love his voice. You can hear it so well. But their rhythm on this one is, I think, what makes it so special. It's got this good funky groove to it it separates itself from the other versions of this song, so it makes it worth listening. Where they're not just rehashing something that's been done 100 times, they make it their own. Digging that a lot. Runaway Child, Running Wild. This is the really long album version, so it's got the middle bit with the kid screaming, looking for his mom, which is kind of annoying. But I mean, I understand the point of it in the song, but you know, this one really has that R&B funky shuffle. The hi-hat shuffle on this stuff is hypnotic. I absolutely love that. The swells, the layering. It definitely takes you on this journey of a little kid who has run away, and sort of the dizzying effect that it might have trying to navigate yourself through the streets or through the world or whatever you're doing. Thinking you're ready, but you're probably not. But it's a great exploration in songcraft and storytelling. You know, it showcases them all again in a new direction. So, fascinating song. Not one of my favorites, but it's definitely one that does get stuck in my head pretty often. And then side 2, this is where we kind of go back in time a little bit, but not entirely. I mean, there were still groups sounding like this. Not every group jumped into the whole psychedelic soul stuff. I mean, Supremes did it a little bit. The Four Tops would get there. But side 2 starts off with Love Is a Hurtin' Thing, and I love this one, where Eddie takes the chorus line. Melvin's got a great intro on this thing. Dennis has the verses. Melvin's parts on this song are my favorite in particular. His deep bass voice is just fantastic. But this totally could have fit on like a 1967, early 68 album from these guys. Hey Girl, Paul is on the lead on this one, just nailing it. He gives it his all. The backgrounds on this one are brief but catchy. And I love the fade out too, but this one is just Paul wailing it to the microphone. He's very much, for me, kind of got that Otis Redding thing going on, where like you could just tell he's sweating into the mic the whole time, and you can tell he's really digging into this song to really feel the lyrics and make that story come to life as if he lived every moment of it. Hands down, a great track on this one. Why Does She Have to Leave Me? Why Does She Have to Go is the next track on here. Catchy, totally old school sound. Dennis on lead again. I like the bass guitar bouncing on this one a lot. There's a really good bass element on this one. And a tight, clean drum sound, which I think helps it out a lot. It's got that nice crisp snap to it, which I think is a good addition to how articulate their vocals are. I Need Your Lovin'. Eddie takes the lead on this one. Excellent bongo work. Never thought I'd say that for a Temptations track, or never thought I'd say that to, you know, promote the bongo. What word am I looking for here? Showcase the bongos. You're Gonna Lose That Girl from Help from the Beatles. That's got a good bongo track on it. Yeah, digging the bongos on this one. I like the electric guitar. How it's got a good clean tone to it. The strumming is really nice. Rich background vocals on this one for sure. This is definitely an older school one where it's like a lead vocalist with a background group kind of track. Don't Let 'Em Take Your Love From Me. This is one of my favorites on the album. One of my favorite Paul Williams lead vocals. The cymbal and drum work, the horns, it's so fun, it's so soulful. It should have been a single. It's a very exciting track. It's super upbeat. It's a lyrical tongue twister in moments. It's just an ear-catching piece of great soul pop. Awesome stuff. This should have been a single. It could have been a good hit for him. I Gotta Find a Way to Get You Back is the next song on here. Dennis takes the lead, just wailing his heart out. And the oohs that he does on this thing are very David Ruffin-esque. I'm not sure if that was just because, you know, maybe he thought people would expect him to sound like that, or just that's what felt right for the moment. But he's got moments of David on this one for sure, which I think is interesting. But I love the vocals during the sax solo. I love the strings and the horns on this one. Total classic Motown sound, and one of my favorites on the album. And the last one on here is, again, also one of my favorites. It's Gonna Keep Trying Till I Win Your Love. This should have been a single. I'm not sure why this wasn't a single. This could have been a huge hit for these guys. Great horns. It's catchy. It's absolutely one of my favorites on the album. It's just an awesome track. It's got all the elements that make up a good Motown and especially good Temptation song, where it's got that excellent blend. It makes you feel something. It's an exciting song that keeps your interest the whole way through. So, who knows? I'm about 50 years too late to make it a single, but love the back cover on this thing. I don't know what the heck they're wearing here. They look like they're in Devo or something. These crazy hats. Good little, biography about the guys up to this point, basically saying here's what the past was. Dennis is in the group now. Here's where we're going. But I've always loved this simple black and white look to these albums from the '60s, where it just says side one the songs, side two the songs. Like it's such a simple, stark look compared to the stuff they do now, where it's kind of all over the place. I just think it's cool. The insert is an original Motown sleeve from back in the day. From what I can tell, this is the original sleeve, because this got I Wish It Would Rain on here. It's also got Temptations Live with the Copa, so yeah, this has to be the original one. It's got the Marvelettes, Sophisticated Soul on there too. Marvelettes are a super underrated band. But here's the record on the Gordy label. That classic label with the yellow triangle there. Love how that looks. That's it. Like I said, one of my favorite Temptations albums. It's got such a nice blend of the old and the new to show where they were going to go next before things got real funky with Puzzle People and especially with Psychedelic Shack. I mean, they definitely got into it head first and they kind of owned it for sure. But yeah, hands down, like I said, one of my favorites. 8 out of 10 all day long for me on this thing. Absolutely love it. And I want to hear what your thoughts are on it too. And that's it. My name is Giggens. This has been the Temptations CloudNine, released in 1969. 8 out of 10. I absolutely love this thing. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Let's chat about this thing in the comments below because I want to hear your thoughts. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.